welcome everybody. It's Dave Durante here with Power Monkey Podcast. We are very excited, myself and Chad Vaughn, to be bringing you a new episode here today. We have someone that's played a very, very important role in the Power Monkey world, but also plays a critical role in the fitness world as we know it, and it's Dave Newman himself, the founder of RX Smart Gear. We are incredibly excited to have Dave as one of our inaugural guests here, and Dave, we couldn't be happier to have you. Thanks for joining.
Oh man, I'm super stoked and honored you guys asked me. Kidding, any chance to hang out with you two legends is a notch on my headboard. Let's put it that way.
Well, it's gonna be a good little time for us to spend together. You know, we've known each other for a number of years now, going back to the start of our Power Monkey Camp, which we'll get into. But we want to kind of dive in a little bit onto what you're working on now, some of the things that kind of got you to this point, and just kind of get a little bit more of a background on where you came from.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Looking forward to all of that discussion. Should be fun. And how long have we actually known each other now? Have we been doing this? Over 6 years.
Yeah, coming up on 7 years. Yeah. Believe it or not, it goes by fast, doesn't it?
Well, you know what, I call it a successful collaboration. You don't hear of many, rock bands that stick together that long. So.
That's true. We've had our difficult moments, but we always seem to push through them.
Good leadership. You guys bring good leadership, is what I say.
All right, why don't we get this going, Chad?
Let's do it. Yeah, absolutely. And as you guys mentioned, it has definitely gone by so fast. And Dave Newman, I'm gonna have to call you Newman because I have two Daves on here with me. I don't want to get you guys confused, but you've been with RX Smart Gear even since before you kind of came on and helped us out with Power Monkey. So how long have you been with RX Smart Gear?
We had our 10-year anniversary June of this year, actually.
Oh, awesome. That's great. And so through that time, as the owner of RX Smart Gear and a leader of a company, I wonder just kind of right out of the gate here, what is your mission? What is your mission for RX Smart Gear, kind of your major purpose behind it, and as someone that owns a company?
Yeah, you know what? I guess there's multiple missions, but just to try and kind of blanket it, I think much like you guys, we really want to spread the message of health and fitness and living a healthy lifestyle, through exercise, and there's just so many positive benefits that you guys obviously know, and we have our little corner of the world, focusing on jump rope for the most part, to try and help spread just some, good training knowledge, good products to help back that, and just get more people, off the couch, on their feet, and having fun and being healthy. So, overall, that's really what drives us. Like, how can we get more people active, doing active things, and do it through our kind of specialty, with jumping rope and whatnot. So, and then obviously that carries into training and getting people more efficient and getting into the competition side of things, and all over the board. It runs the gamut, but I think that's really the overall drive is just to bring value to the fitness world any way we can.
Now, Dave, you mentioned, jump ropes obviously being kind of probably your signature piece of equipment, the thing that most people know you for, and it's where You've made the most innovations within the fitness community. But, I look at you, and from all of our interactions over the years, I don't see you as someone who makes jump ropes. I look at you as an inventor, as someone that really enjoys kind of seeing a problem and figuring out ways to fix them. And, the jump rope is just an iteration of a mind that kind of works a little bit differently than maybe some other people. And, we see it in a bunch of your other products, whether that be, the gripping ring, or, your skull mats, or your mono rope that you use. There are so many things that you've kind of delved into beyond just what people probably think of when they think about RX Smart Gear as the jump ropes. But do you consider yourself more of an inventor within the fitness world? And I want to kind of build upon that. Have you had thoughts about inventing things outside of fitness? Because it seems like you have such a creative mind and have created so many things that have been useful for the fitness community. And I'm really curious whether or not you think of yourself as more of an inventor rather than just, a business owner.
Oh, I appreciate that. It's funny that you don't view me as just a jump rope guy, because that's become the moniker, like, oh, the jump rope guy,
I never thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny, and I don't mind that at all. I mean, obviously, the relationship with the jump rope has brought us so much value to our lives. So I can't be thankful enough that was one of the problems that I tried to solve way back when. But yeah, you know what? It's funny. I don't. That's a good question, and I've kind of pondered this myself. And I don't go so far as to call myself an inventor. I don't really know what categorizes somebody as an inventor. I mean, I have multiple patents, but when you look at a patent, it's kind of like, well, do you have the patience and the money to pay for one to get it done, because it's a long process, and I don't know. So when I look at that, I go, well, and when I think of an inventor, I think of like, Da Vinci and Tesla and all of those originals that Benjamin Franklin, guys like that really did something that changed the world, or came up with something super unique. So I feel like I'm just really kind of a hack, as far as how can you hack something to make it better, right? Just improve it a little bit. And a lot of the things that I've found myself naturally gravitating towards were things like revolving around fitness, just things that I wasn't enjoying. There was something about fitness that I wasn't enjoying or having a good time, or was causing me a pain, or an irritation of some sort. And I'm like, okay, well, how can I resolve this? Like, I want to keep participating in fitness and doing what I'm doing, but I don't want to keep having the problem that I'm having that's a side effect of fitness. So I just find a way to hack it. Okay, how can I manipulate it, and and just make it better? So yeah, I definitely try and think of things that solve problems. So a problem solver is probably accurate without giving me too much credit. But yeah, I think it's just really a matter of and to answer your question, yeah, outside of fitness, all the time. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've stood in a public restroom, men's urinal, and stood with my feet like spread so far apart, because I don't want to stand in a puddle of urine from other people's urine splashing out of the urinal. You guys feel my pain. I know you've done this before,
Oh, yeah.
right? Because the way my brain works is, okay, if I just walk up and step in a puddle of urine, I'm now going to track that puddle of urine everywhere I walk, into my home, into my car, whatever. So I'm like, why hasn't somebody invented a better urinal that can like kind of capture more of the splatter, if you will, or the sprinkling, So little things like that, I think about all the time, and I, I'll jot down ideas at times, but I don't often pull triggers on things like that. But yeah, it's fun to think about. It's fun to think about a lot of different ways you can hack life and make it a little bit better. And I found that I have such ADD. The older that I get, super ADD. You guys are 20 years behind me, so you'll see when you get there. So for me, trying to stay focused in the fitness lane, I think is what best suits us. Just to maintain that focus and try and make some strides and improve. At least one avenue of life, I think, is what I shoot for. But it's hard to stay on track sometimes.
Yeah, I think you're being pretty humble right now, Dave. I think the mindset you have, to me, I mean, the innovations that you've made, and the ability to kind of make things easier for athletes and give them a better fitness experience has been incredible. I mean, from my perspective as an athlete, what I've seen it do for other people. But in my mind, you're definitely an inventor. You might not see yourself. You might see it just a fitness hack of some kind, but it's been really amazing to see. And yeah, very cool stuff. Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I was a little worried where the urinal tangent was going to go there, but yeah, you made it out of there okay. But I do love that you would rather be called a hack than an inventor. So maybe I'm just going to call you a hack from now on, if that's what you want.
Affectionately, I will take that affectionately.
But another thing, the jump rope guy. You are known as the jump rope guy, and something that I know the listeners are going to want to hear. Honestly, I want to hear it myself. I think I've probably heard it from you a number of times before. anyway, but it's always good as a reminder. In this community that we're all a part of, what is the one most common fault that you see technically with jump ropes, whether it be, single unders, double unders, whatever it is? What is the most common thing that holds athletes back from being able to jump rope better?
This is going to be a little bit kind of, off of like a tangible thing, but really it's mindset and priorities, right? And you guys are some of the best coaches out there. I feel, and I think a lot of people would agree. You guys are some of the best coaches out there, and I think you would agree that getting somebody into the right mindset to learn, and then provide them the right priorities, right? The right road or path of what they should be training. For me, that's where it all starts. There's a lot of technical cues and things you could see in people's movements and things that they're doing wrong. But before you even step on the floor, it's what they're walking in with, their preconceived notions of how they think they should be approaching something, right? Like jump rope, it's so silly. I look at jump rope as being such a basic, simple thing that I struggled with in the early days, and that's what kind of led me down this path of discovery. And it was just realizing, wow, my priorities were just out of whack. I was really thinking of the wrong things, and as soon as I prioritized the right things and then focused on them, and then figured out the rest of it, figured out the efficiencies and the positioning and the cues and all of those other things, everything just fell right into place. So yeah, I think people just have a misunderstanding and also misguided thought process when they pick up a jump rope. And to give you an example, so using your guys' specialty, using say a muscle up for rings or snatch for Oli lifting, Chad. You guys, when you perform those skills, you guys will break that down. And you'll go, okay, well, you made the snatch, but your elbows were bent and you had to press and lock out and you pulled too early and, your feet were all over the place, whatever. There's a lot of things to correct. And, even though they made the snatch, they know there's a lot of things they got to work on. Dave, on a muscle up, you see somebody that, chicken wings one arm at a time and they make it up in a deep dip and then they have to squirm to get out of the dip. It's like, okay, they made the muscle up, but man, you're really going to critique a lot of those things and back it up and really try and, perfect all the movements leading up. And I feel like jump rope is that one thing that just, like say double unders. Obviously, in our fitness realm, that's kind of the movement that people want to have and perfect. And for double unders, it just seems like completion is success. And okay, I completed one, now I'm going to complete two. So it's just completion and add up the reps. And that's really all people think about. And they'll just keep moving down that path, and that's what we see. My team of trainers and I, when we work with people or we watch people, they'll come in thinking like, I'm actually pretty good. Like I can do 100 unbroken double unders, and that's great. They can do 100 unbroken double unders with the most horrendous form you've ever seen. Donkey kicking, arms in a crucifix position. They should be doing iron crosses with Dave, and just shoulders engaged, just using all the wrong muscle groups, all the wrong tempo and speed patterns and all these other things that we see stacking up just to do a really simple movement. And that's because of the priorities. It's like people come in just only trying to get success at completing the rep and not the quality of the rep. And so for us, it's really just trying to strip all that back, change the mentality to go, well, let's try and improve the quality of the rep, not just completion of the rep. So that that I know that's not giving somebody a like, oh, I can go out and use that today and get better. But really, that's the biggest part, is fixing people's priorities and thought process first.
Yeah, agreed 100%, and that's why we love you so much, Dave. Definitely right on the same page with how we teach and break things down. No doubt about it. And for me, there's no sense in me teaching someone to snatch or teaching them a different position or putting them in a different position if they don't know what the few most important parts of the lift are. What is the most important part of the lift? And then we can build on that, only adding probably a couple things, not trying to get them to think about all 50 things that happen within a snatch. And so when you talk about priorities are important, or understanding this idea of you need to prioritize. And I think what you're saying as well is that that needs to be as simple as it can be, meaning on as few things as possible. What would you say the number one priority for performing double unders effectively and efficiently is?
Number one priority, slowing down. That's really it. I mean, slowing down and understanding what you need to do to slow down. Everybody, they hear the really good people in the gym, right? I mean, double unders, you can walk into a gym and you can hear when people are doing them. Like there could be one person off in the corner just by themselves doing double unders, and your ears will automatically tune in and draw over to that person. And if they're somebody who can just whip through them and have that swishing sound, that little tap tap swishing sound of the rope, it's a very unique sound that people are drawn to. And so newbies or beginners feel like, oh, well, when I'm really good, I should make that sound, and it always sounds way faster in their ears. When they're just learning it, it always sounds way faster than probably what it is. And so people just think they need to go fast. And you both know as well as I do, you don't learn any new skill fast, right? Even sprinters whose job is to go fast, they don't learn to sprint fast by going fast. They learn technique on how to move first efficiently, right? And then they'll ramp up and add speed. So, with double unders, everybody tries to go too fast. They try and, they're thinking, well, I need to do double the work of a single under, so I better, speed up the rope to get the two passes through. And really, it's just a matter of learning how to bound more efficiently off the ground without overworking, bound higher, and intentionally slow the rope down, and learn the slowest double under that you can first. And then once you've developed your sense of timing and awareness and positioning and all of those other things, it's so easy to ramp up speed after that, right? Just like your guys' specialties. You guys both, I know, experience the same thing. Like Chad using Oli lifting, right, as an example. I'm sure you get people that they want to just rip the bar off the floor so fast at the beginning. They think they need to develop as much speed right away. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that's probably not the ideal way to start, say, a snatch.
No, I mean, absolutely not. And you're right on. I made a post on Instagram just last week, I think, that was talking about, I believe the most powerful tool in a coach's toolbox is learning how to get people to slow down. And that's the first step. And I think that's what I really spend, if I really think about it, I spend most time on thinking of ways and developing cues and tricks and drills and devices to specifically slow people down so I can teach them and then finally move forward. Because I've worked with athletes for maybe even a number of years that they, just didn't get the idea, the concept of slowing down, or I wasn't able to portray that to that specific individual appropriately. And then finally, a couple years down the road, when I'm able to make that connection of them slowing down and they feel finally a benefit in it, they're like, oh, wow. And then finally we can start actually 2 years later,
It's kind of fascinating though, isn't it? That, I mean, you talk to any person who's considered an expert or a specialist, and you're going to hear the same thing. You're going to hear them say that slowing down and being able to refine movement is one of the most critical components to learning higher level movement or to eventually learn, incorporate speed. But it's always one of the things that most new athletes forget or are not able to incorporate. I'm fascinated by that fact, and it seems like it has to do with this constant need for that, thing that we've talked about all the time, this idea of instant gratification, right? You want it right now.
Absolutely.
You want it right now.
Absolutely.
When you can't appreciate the fact that things done correctly take time and need to be done in such a way that you can do them for longevity, and you can do them for duration, you can do them where you understand the mistakes as you're going through the movements, you can make corrections appropriately. And I think when people focus so much on speed, like you're talking about, Dave, you miss the opportunity to understand what those mistakes actually are. And I think that's why you reinforcing it, or Chad talking about how it applies to a snatch, really anyone who's devoted their time to a specific field, you'll hear this same thing over and over again. slowing down is going to lead to some of the biggest improvements later down the road. I think it's fascinating that it just keeps getting reinforced every time we talk to someone else.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dave, I mean, my time, coaching gymnastics, much lower level gymnastics than what you're involved with.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Our time coaching gymnastics, back in the day, really is the core foundation of belief system for us is learning the parts. Like learning the parts of the movements first, and then stacking, and then building to a full movement. With integrity, virtuosity. That's your favorite word,
Yep.
and then and then add speed, intensity after that. Absolutely, and the thing is that can be done with a jump rope. It can be done, and it should be with double unders, and one of our big pushes or big movements to try and educate gym owners, head coaches, trainers, whoever, educate them to have more tools in their tool bag. So that, like we're all very involved in the CrossFit world, obviously, right? That style of fitness, where it's on a clock. You're on a clock. You're being timed. Get that workout done fast. And so, people then prioritize the clock and not this, the quality of their movement in a workout. And so, trying to give trainers and coaches more tools where they can scale people properly so that people can participate in a workout, get what they need out of the workout, and not let all of their technique and all of their progression and all of those things go out the door, so that they're reinforcing. You guys know as well as I do, man, stripping away bad habits is probably our biggest chore, our biggest task, right? Oh my gosh, they get them ingrained, and it's like, okay, now we have to back up, and you have to have a willing participant that is willing to back up.
Yeah,
several steps, right? So and double unders is probably the one skill that's the most over abused in that setting, right? In a workout setting, trying to get the reps done, trying to get the RX on the board, trying to beat their buddy next to them, in the workout, what have you, and they're doing shitty reps, just really poor reps the whole time, and they're just going to get worse from there. So really, it's going to come down to the coaches and the trainers to identify that and say, hey, Joe Schmo, I really think instead of doing double unders for the workout, you should do this scaled version that I'm going to give you and do this for so many reps. And here's your focus. While you're doing double unders in the workout, your focus should be this. And whether it's a postural thing or a positional thing, that's your focus, and you kind of remove the intensity out of that component of the workout. And that takes a lot of maturity, A, for a coach, and B, for a participant to go, okay, I get I'm not going to get an RX on the board, and I get that I'm not going to beat Susie Q in the workout, but I'm going to get a good workout in, and I'm going to improve my skill basis during the process. And those two don't often happen together.
Yeah, I think you made a good point right there when you said it takes a lot of maturity. As an athlete, and understanding kind of where you are within the learning process. And I think it touches on a little bit of something that we've probably all dealt with in the learning phase and teaching phase, is this question that we get constantly, or I get constantly asking you guys if you do too, this idea of, okay, if technique is this important and we need to be spending time on it and slowing things down, how do we maintain the integrity of the movement and make sure that people are learning things correctly, adding these progressions in, and also keeping the workouts fun? And that sometimes gets lost because you can get caught up in this idea of, okay, I need to spend an hour on just, bounding in place and trying to get the timing right for my double unders. And that, now I'm spending an hour of my workout and I don't really feel like I got the intended stimulus out of what I was supposed to do when I came in here. So this idea of it being a balancing game of making sure they're taking their medicine of good progressions and slowing things down, but at the same time making sure that it stays fun and they're coming into the gym and it's the best part of their day.
Yeah, that's a great question. Here's the way I do it, and I've been CrossFitting for 11 years now, and so I've gone through that huge bell curve of doing everything wrong, trying to get it fast, trying to progress as fast as I could and be competitive, until I topped out and then tapped out, and now I'm down on the other side of the curve where, hey, I just want to stay fit and get sweaty and move well, right, for my age. So what I do now is I don't care if I beat somebody. You know, you still care. You have those days where it's like, oh, I really want to throw down with Dave and see if I could beat him in this workout. Those days happen for sure, but those are more rare. And so now what I'll do in a workout is I'll know the part of the workout that I need to focus on my technique, and that part of the workout is going to slow me down. But then I'll challenge myself in the other parts of the workout. You know, the other things that I know I can grab a 95-pound barbell and do clean and jerks, you know, without, you know, any issues or whatever it might be for me personally. And I'll challenge myself and I'll make mini goals in that workout to make it interesting for me. So let's say I am in a situation where, you know what, I need to do a scale on my double unders because let's say I'm not good at them. So I'm going to scale my double unders. So that part of the workout, I lose some stimulus, but I'm trying to acquire skill. And then the next part of the workout might be, you know, you've got to do, each round is 20 clean and jerks with 95 pounds. So I'll make a goal for myself. I want to go unbroken on the barbell. Like, I don't care what my time is on the workout. I just know when I grab the barbell, I'm not going to put it down until I finish the 20th rep each round. And that might even entail, you know, taking a longer break before I touch the barbell, you know. But then guess what? You know, I know that I'm going to be challenged and I'm going to struggle and I'm going to exert myself to, you know, to get those 20 reps done each round or whatever it might be. So I have a lot of fun doing that, and to the point that it's gotten to a point where in our gym, I've been a member, Sue and I have been a member of our CrossFit gym for over 11 years. We're some of the oldest members there. We've been at the same gym. We've never changed. Love the owners, best friends of ours. And so obviously I get a little bit of a hall pass on some things in the gym, just being a piece of old furniture there. So, you know, we have these little green utility boxes you can buy at Home Depot. You know, the little green utility boxes. A lot of gyms will buy them and you use them to step up to get on a higher pull-up bar or something like that, you know. Mm-hmm. And so we have several of those spread out throughout the gym. So if I look at the workout and I see one of those little goals that I need to set for myself, like, oh man, this has, you know, 15 squat cleans with 155. I wonder if I could do those unbroken or whatever it might be. I'll grab one of those little utility boxes and I'll drag it up into my little set up workout area. And when this first started happening, you know, the owner and coach, who's one of my close friends, he's like, "What are you doing?" And I go, "Well, my goal is to try and go unbroken on the barbell, so I know I'm going to have to rest before I pick it up. So I'm going to sit down and rest." and so I started doing that during workouts. And then my buddies that are working out with me, they're looking over at me sitting on this box while they're grunting away, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And I just said, "Wisdom." Wisdom, guys.
That's your maturity, right?
Right? It is a lot of maturity.
Yeah.
And here's the funny thing. And these guys are just shaking their heads like, "You're a moron. What are you doing?" You know? And the funny thing is I'll set my little goal. I'll rest sitting on the box, you know, and I'm cheering on my friends as well. You know, I'm cheering them on while they're working out. And then half the time I'll beat these guys in the workout because I went unbroken on the barbell, right?
Right.
And so now the owner of the gym hates me, even though he loves me. I have so many people now grabbing a little green box and pulling it up to the workout station and sitting down in the middle of a workout, and they all say that. They go, "Wisdom box. This is the wisdom box," you know?
I love it.
So
I love it.
Yeah. But you know what? The thing is, you hit on a really good point, and Dave, and fitness is so individual, right? It really is so individual to the person, and that was a big maturity jump for me to get to. Is that, you know what? When I set my own personal goals of, man, if I'm sweating and I'm exerting myself and I'm you know, ramping up my heart rate and I'm moving, you know, full range of motion, you know, then I'm doing good for myself, right? I'm gonna leave there much better than when I got there, and it's this, you know, I always say fitness is the marathon race you never want to finish. You know, you want that marathon is, you want it to be as endless as possible, and along that marathon, You're going to have slow miles. You're going to have fast miles. You're going to have some miles where you want to sit down for a minute, and the goal is to keep moving, right? So, for me, I don't mind doing that, and I enjoy it, and I set those mini goals, and it's done wonders for me. I mean, as far as mental health and not laying in bed, our gym posts the workouts the night before, and I used to lay in bed and strategize. Man, I wonder if I can go unbroken on the barbell. I wonder how I'm gonna have to break up the wall balls. You know what I mean? Literally, I would strategize the workout, and I'm sure probably 90% of the CrossFit nation does that, probably still, and not worrying about that anymore, and just setting these mini goals has been amazing. So
love that.
Yeah, Dave, you keep throwing out all these unbroken sets with the barbell that you're confusing me. What are you doing? What are you maintaining sets of unbroken 20 reps with on the barbell?
Well, maybe just the barbell itself.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, even with that, any barbell movement, I'll struggle maintaining 20 unbroken reps with just an empty bar. So you're doing very well. But one kind of last question for the topics of technique and jump rope and modifying and stuff like that came to my mind as you were talking through some of that stuff that I think might help some individuals. What would you say to the individual that is learning double unders? Maybe they can do them pretty well, but when they're in the middle of a workout, they can't count them and focus on what they need to focus on at the same time. What would you say to them?
So, I mean, is your question on counting, like the ability to count? Is there a technique or trick to that, or?
Yeah, just the ability to, let's say if they're keeping track of their reps, they're counting their double unders, and it's causing them to lose focus enough to where they're continually tripping up and stuff like that.
Well, that's a tricky question, because I know there are a lot of people who can't chew gum and walk at the same time. So,
right.
So, you're right. Counting the reps, and trying to maintain their focus on skill performance, issues. That could be a tough one for some people. But one of the things, getting back to when people slow down, when they make an attempt to slow down, it allows a lot of things to happen. It really allows a lot more clarity, and that's what when we have our sessions at Power Monkey Camp, and we get people in there, and we ask them, we say, hey, what is the negative of doing slow double unders? Who can tell me the negative of doing a slow double under? And people will have all these reasons of why they think it's bad, like, oh well, you're going to be slower in the workout. Obviously, to go slower, you have to bound higher, right? Spend more time in the air. You have to then slow the rope down to match up your time in the air. And people think, oh, well, that's gonna, my legs are gonna get tired because I'm bounding too high. All these different things. And then I'll say, okay, great. I mean, those might have some valid points there, but what are the benefits to slowing down, right? Let's think about those. And when we start going through the checklist of, you bound higher, but Dave, it's just a gymnastics bound. It's a stretch reflex. There's not a whole lot of energy, right? If you just get your body positioned correctly, your natural springs are propelling you upward. There's really not a whole lot of exertion. So, doing that properly is not going to tax you. So once you're in the air, let's say you forget about whether you're going fast, trying to win the workout, but let's look at the other benefits. When you bound higher and kind of float in the air, that allows you to slow the rope down. Actually, it forces you to slow the rope down, because your rope speed should match your bounding height. And a lot of people, the way they teach it, they get that backwards. They try and make their bound speed match the rope speed, which is, in my mind, completely backwards. And it doesn't have efficacy. That's not going to allow people to learn good rope control and tempo, and then be able to handle other varieties of ropes.
Can you repeat that one more time, Dave? I just want to make sure that the listeners kind of heard that.
Yeah, so a lot of people try and make their bounding speed match their rope speed, right? They'll get the rope moving fast, then they try and get their feet to get out of the way in time to miss the rope, right? And that's a very, very ass-backwards way of looking at it. You should set your bound height first, and then make your rope speed match the time you give it.
So your pace of your rope is dictated according to your bounding height.
100%.
Okay.
Love it.
100%.
I love it.
Interesting.
Right? Like that's just the simplest way to put it. So because here's what we see. We see people that learn one speed. The people that learn it fast, right off the bat, that's the only speed they have. They only have fast. They don't know how to slow down. And a lot of times, we'll get people through Power Monkey, for example, that go, man, there are days I can hit 20 double unders unbroken and no problem. And then the next day, I can't get 2 in a row. And that's because those people have one speed, right? And if that happens to be the day that they're fresh, their timing happens to be on, and they just kind of like get lucky timing it, that they can get out of the way of the rope, right? Then great, they're going to be lucky that day. But they don't really have control over what's happening to them, right? So when you bound and set your bound height, then make your rope speed match the time you give it, you now have control over what's happening to you, right? You're controlling the rope speed, you're dictating it, which gives you such an arsenal of tools to handle things like a heavy rope. That's one of the techniques we teach people that have to deal with a heavy rope is, we'll give the rope more time, right? Because that heavy rope is a thing that is taxing you as you're trying to get that thing moving around your body, and people's shoulders get fried out, their forearms get fried out, because they're trying to spin it like a speed rope, and you just can't maintain that. That's not really sustainable, right? So if you bound higher and force yourself and allow yourself to slow the rope down, now that's much more sustainable, okay? So, drag rope is another example of that. These are all tools that kind of help people, learn better technique. And so, so when you slow down, all these things happen. Now all of a sudden, you have to slow the rope down. Well, now you can see the rope. I don't know how many people never pay attention to their rope. They never look at their rope as it moves around them. Dave, to me, that's like a gymnast that never looks at their apparatus, right? You're running down the vault runway to do a Sukahara or something, and you don't even look at the springboard,
Yeah.
or you don't look at the vault, right? It just makes no sense to me. You don't look at the article that it's in your hands. So a lot of people don't look at the blur of the rope moving around them. Well, that's usually because they can't. It's moving too fast. But when you bound higher and now the rope's slowing down, it's like, oh my God, I can see my rope. And now you can start detecting imbalances in your rope. What's your rope doing? Is it crooked as it moves around your body? Right? Is it wavy and fluttery? All these other things that will affect whether you trip or not trip, right? So the rope can slow down. You can see it. Your arms can relax because you're not trying to drive the rope so fast. You know what I mean? There are all these other great things that come from it. And then once you understand that, it's so easy to then bring your bound lower to the ground and speed up the rope, right? It's much more manageable, So Chad, I think kind of a roundabout way to answer your question, I always get back to get in the air, right? If people are having a hard time and they're having a hard time counting or keeping track or whatever, getting in the air is always going to be your best friend. I mean, doing it efficiently, with a nice tall gymnastics bound, right? Kind of neutralize that lower lumbar, stay on the balls of their feet, and it's a real quick turnaround getting off the ground. That's going to open up a lot of doors for people, I think.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. That's a great answer. I got about 10 questions answered in your answer to that one question. So that was
sorry about that.
No, that's great. We want tangents on this podcast, right? That tangents make really good podcast recording. So no, that was a great answer. I think people are going to benefit from that a whole lot.
Dave, I want to jump topics a little bit here, and it's something that I feel like all three of us kind of have in common, but I just kind of get your take on it. And you mentioned Susan a little while ago as having been a member at your CrossFit gym for the past 11 years with you. And, Susan has a role at RX Smart Gear with you guys, and she plays
big role.
Yeah, I want to say, she plays an important role in helping company run. And with Power Monkey, Sadie, my wife, plays an important role. And with Vaughn Weightlifting, Jody plays an important role with Chad. All of our significant others play an important role in our lives, opposed and, in conjunction with being our significant others. They play an important role on the business side. I'm curious how you've been able to make it work, what Susan's role is, and how it's affected your relationship for the better, for the worse, if there's challenges that you guys have had to go through to, figure out a way that life and work balance between the fact that you guys are running the business and going back home and trying to live a life that's separate from that.
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, and to reiterate, you guys have amazing women beside you, helping you guys, run your successful businesses. So kudos to them. Love those ladies. And same with our business. Susan is such an instrumental role in what we do here. I mean, she really runs the operation of the business. The behind the scenes. I know she doesn't get out to Power Monkey as often as we'd like her to. Because she's so vital back here, running the operation. She just brings so much organization and common sense, and practicality to how things run back here in the office. And that was such a huge thing for us. And I think we're lucky to make it work. I really think we're just super, super lucky because I don't believe in a lot of partnerships. I've had too many friends or seen too many scenarios of partnerships, not necessarily husband and wife partnerships, just partnerships in general, just seem to fail in my mind. And so I'm always leery of partnerships. Yet here I'm partnered with my wife and in this endeavor, which I think can be like a double-edged sword, obviously. And we're just super lucky that our temperaments allow us to get along really well. And I know and respect what she's really good at, and I stay out of her way. And she knows with all my craziness, where I bring value, and she doesn't, dabble in my area too much. So really having our separate things to focus on, and yet still have each other to bounce things off of and get each other's opinions really is huge. I mean, the company started really taking off when she came on board back in 2012. We'd been around for about 2.5 years, and she had a full-time job at San Diego State in their research foundation, and was making okay money, but had great health benefits for the family, and that was huge. That was really a big thing for that career. And when the company got to a point to where we had to make that decision of, hey, we're growing and we need to grow more, and we need somebody of her caliber and expertise to come in and help things run smoothly. We had to make that decision too of like, okay, we're going to lose her salary that she was getting from the university and the amazing health benefits, and then come over, and now she's going to take up consume a salary from our company that was still growing, and we have to pay for our own health insurance as well. You know what? Best thing that ever happened to the company. I mean, it's been huge. So, moving forward, now we're 10 years in, and that's like anything, man. It's tough. There's tough days. There's struggles. Sure, we'll get on each other's nerves. We never go to bed angry, thankfully. And we've always been that way. And I think we're just we're fortunate to have that kind of relationship. We try and never go to bed angry over anything. But do we annoy each other? Absolutely. You can
I think those kind of things are inevitable, right? I mean, that's just a part of being in a relationship, and
Yep, in any relationship, absolutely. So, but we are at a point too where now I try and recognize when I have a lot of hobbies. You guys know I like to surf and ski and ride motorcycles and do things, and those are my outlets. And a lot of those things I do with her. We do them together. We ski together. We'll go for motorcycle rides together and things like that. Surf I do with my buddies and kids. But I think it's important for her to have her hobbies and things that she can do that just bring her joy and kind of have her own space, so that we can be a part. Here's a real quick funny anecdote, and I hope I'm not killing you guys' time, but I was working out at a different CrossFit gym when we were participating in a retreat for Bethany Hamilton. I'll tell you guys about on another conversation. A phenomenal retreat, but we were working out at CrossFit 2120 in Del Mar. And that morning, we took a regular class that morning, and the coach, very energetic guy at 5 in, and he, sent us all out on a jog and said, hey, I want you to pick 2 people, and by the time you get back from your, 200-meter jog, you need to know each person's name and what their profession is, or know something about them. So I had these two guys that I went on the jog with. One was a younger guy, one was an older guy. Really nice guys. And it was really ironic because the younger guy was engaged and about to be married in about, I think, a week or a couple weeks was his wedding. Susan and I had been married. We had our 20-year anniversary in August. The other guy in our group had been married for 40 years.
Wow.
He was an attorney married for 40 years. And so when we got back into the gym, I asked the older gentleman, I said, what is the secret to a 40-year marriage? You know, because I'm 20 years in going, wow, 20 years more. You know,
Sure.
you got to work at it. You got to work at it. And he had a one-word answer. Well, I guess it wasn't one word, but basically he said, spend time apart. Spend time apart. And I tell you, so I luckily passed that, wisdom down to that new, almost newlywed to take into his relationship. So anyway, yeah. So she's been phenomenal, and we're very fortunate that we have each other and enjoy working together. So
Love hearing that it can succeed, and like I said, both Chad and I have had similar situations with our wives, and they've played such a big role in what we're doing, and I just love hearing that those things can work, and while they are challenging and they come with their own unique challenges, that they can be fruitful, and they can be situations that actually turn into something better than if you were just doing them on your own.
Let me add that there's sorry, Chad, to cut you off, but let me add that there's modeling. Part of any successful human being or successful relationship, for that matter, there's modeling, and don't miss on the fact that I model after you guys, because when I get to spend time around you guys a couple times a year and see you with your spouses, I pay attention to the interaction, because I recognize as well that you guys are running these successful companies with your significant others, and so I don't want to be creepy or anything, but in the background, I pay attention to your guys' interactions and how you guys communicate and delegate, and just all of your interactions with each other, and I'm always impressed by it. Number one. By both of you guys, and although I haven't seen Jody in the last couple of camps, unfortunately, so send her our love.
Will.
But seriously, watching you guys work, with your spouses, gives me a lot of information and things to aspire to, and reminders. Like, oh wow, you know what? I need to try and be like Dave or like Chad when I'm communicating with my partner.
Oh, thank you.
So. No, absolutely. That definitely goes around. So you guys.
I just put it back on my wife, because I am an enormous pain in the ass. So especially when we're running camp or running a business, I am definitely not easy to deal with. So I would say that Sadie is a saint in the fact that she has been able to keep our business and our relationship intact.
Well, Newman,
She
I
is.
think we would agree with Sadie on that, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
100%. 100%. I'm always going to be on Sadie's side.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Smart move.
No, I appreciate those kind words as well there, Newman, and you mentioned partnering with your wife. You put it in the word of partnering, and you've actually started partnering with some other new sports that we kind of want to bring up and ask you about. I think USA Boxing and USA Wrestling you've recently partnered with. We're wondering what do you look for when you decide whether or not to partner with a specific group or an event?
You know what? Yeah, we have multiple Olympic partnerships, and honestly, those have all been amazing partnerships, and actually they all reached out to us, which for me is it's humbling, and it feels good. It's a big I don't know if it's validation or kind of I guess validation. The fact that these entities reached out to me and said, hey, we've heard about your product, we want our athletes to use it, and we want to get it in their hands, would you be interested in these partnerships? And so then we'd start the conversation. And so when I think about it, we have we started with USA Boxing, which is kind of an expected relationship, because boxers obviously jump rope, but boxing, wrestling, USA Judo, USA Synchronized Swimming, which is a really kind of off the wall partnership, just because you think of aquatic sports and synchronized swimming, as niche as that sport is, but they all jump rope on their dry land training. They all jump rope. They use it to warm up. They use it for fitness. They also use it to kind of get the girls to all match frequencies, and how they move, which is really interesting for me. So I love the fact that such a kind of what you would deem as an obscure, sport would find value from the jump rope, and it just for me validates that wow, everybody can and should benefit from jump rope. Weightlifters, gymnasts, like they all can and will gain great things from it. So kickboxing was the latest partnership, USA Kickboxing, and so you know what? I mean, those partnerships they're easy because we want to align ourselves with the best out there, right? That's the only reason I hang out with you two, because I feel like you two are the best out there, the best in the game. So that helps me elevate my game and try and aspire to what you guys are doing. And same with our Olympic movement and these other teams. I mean, I'm very humbled that they reached out to us, but man, of course I jumped at the chance to partner with them and support them, because we want to support the USA and all of the sports and the teams and at the same token, I feel like it gives us validation as a company and what we bring to the table. So so as far as the Olympics and those Olympic groups, those are phenomenal. Really value those. Partnering with other entities, I think it's the same thing as you guys. We look for other entities that are trying to bring value, right? Like in some way, shape, or form, they're trying to bring value, to the fitness world, or just to the world in general. And if we feel like we can bring additional value through our little unique component, then yeah, we would love to. We'd love to try and participate. And sometimes my wife would say that we give away more free jump ropes or products or things to events that we want to support than we actually sell, which is not good. Just not good for a business. So that's why I have her, the smart person watching the bank account. But yeah, you know what? I feel like when this whole thing for me started, when the whole jump rope thing started, it was never supposed to be a financial pursuit, never a commercial endeavor. It was always just a feel-good thing that I was drawn to, and the fact that it can bring value to other people was, just astounding, mind-blowing to me. And so that's a drug in itself, and I want to keep taking that drug. If I can keep making people get fitter and feel better and keep moving well, then I'm going to chase that. So,
well, I can try to set you up with the USA weightlifting partnership, but I really feel like if any weightlifters do about 10 double unders, they're going to have to sit down on one of those green boxes you were talking about earlier. So, but I do wonder in working with these specific sports if you've learned anything from a business standpoint or a partnership standpoint from being in a partnership with them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think going into partnerships, it's really important to kind of step back and assess what value you're going to bring to them, and B, what value they're going to bring to you, and maybe not necessarily in that order. That's a tough thing. Like I have a hard time saying no, and like I said, that's why I have my wife, who's much more practical minded and understands when, hey, we should probably say no on some things, and I have a hard time doing that. So looking at those relationships, and you could even expand that into like sponsored athletes and that type of thing. You guys know that's a big thing in our fitness world, is having spokespeople and ambassadors and representation, kind of promoting your brand, and looking at those and trying to figure out, is this going to be an equal relationship? Are we all mutually going to benefit from it? We participate in a lot of nonprofits where, for us, it's all about the give. Those are things that we don't look for anything in return other than how good it makes us feel participating in those. The Keala Foundation and the Ultimate Trail Run and Bethany Hamilton's foundation, things like that. Those are all 100%. We're all in. We just want to bring value and help that entity, spread their word. And then you look at other more business-like relationships where, yeah, this needs to be a two-way street, and we need to see benefit coming back out of it, and really asking those hard questions. And sometimes I feel mean, or I feel like a jerk, going, well, what do I get out of this? But you know what? I think that's not an impractical thing to ask. You could ask it in a nicer way, of course, but you do need to find out, if it's going to be mutually beneficial, and what kind of exposure or additional relationships can you get, by jumping into that partnership. So I think, being a little bit more business minded and trying to remove the emotion from some of those decisions is what needs to happen there, and that's something I'm still trying to get better at. But I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. That's the toughest part of owning a business and trying to work with other people, is saying no when you need to say no, and asking for what you kind of need to put that time into the project, or whatever it may be. So
100%.
Now I want to just build off of this into our partnership, and what made you say yes to something that probably should have said no to when we first started Power Monkey Camp. Now, I just want to give a little quick background to all listeners who don't know. But when we started Power Monkey Camp back in 2013, coming up on 7 years now, or the start of our 7th year will be in May. I pitched the idea to Chad, and said, I think we have enough people within the fitness community that, are experts that might want to come out to this. Location's amazing. This might be something cool to test out. And, Chad was like, I don't know if this is going to work, but, we'll give it a try.
I was a no. Newman, yeah. I was a no.
We had to get Sadie in there to get him to convince, Chad to be convinced to come on board. But one of the main reasons why Power Monkey Camp actually got off the ground, and why we were able to do that first one, is because of you, Dave. And I think that most people probably don't know that. And, we were still fairly, up and coming within the fitness community, and, we were just selling kind of ring things at the time, and doing some little clinics here and there, and camp was kind of our big kind of coming out party to the fitness community. And we pitched the idea to you because you had kind of a mutual friend through the location, that you had known John McCready from back in the day out in San Diego, when McCready being a former Olympian himself in '96 and being one of the co-owners of the location. And when we pitched the idea to you, and you having access to your ambassador athletes and having the ability to kind of punch it out to the community in a way that we just didn't have a reach on, it just had an incredible impact on our ability to get people to believe in this idea, and that it was actual something worth coming out to see. And so, one, obviously, an enormous thank you. I can't thank you enough. I don't know if I'm ever going to thank you enough times for believing in Power Monkey Camp, but I am more curious about what made you want to take a risk on this partnership, and what made you think that Power Monkey Camp was, one, worth pursuing and look to be mutually beneficial, as you were mentioning.
All right. Well, first of all, you give me way too much credit for that, and you're gonna have to make me a promise now at camps when you do these introductions, and you embarrass me and put me on the spot and say that you've thanked me way more than I need to be thanked, or you probably deserve to be thanked. So I appreciate that in you guys. But let's flip the script here a little bit, and let's go back to circa 2012, 2013, right around when we first met. I'd see you guys on social media, and you guys were traveling around doing your workshops at individual affiliates, right? The gymnastics and Oli workshop. And of course, you came onto my radar, and saw you guys. And of course, nobody can forget the video of Chad doing that slow-mo snatch on the CrossFit website with all the curly locks flying back, on the third pull and all that kind of stuff. So, I was already fans of you guys before we probably had even met. And so let's flip the script, that when you guys approached me and pitched that idea, and I'm sitting here in my head going, oh my God, Dave Durante, gymnastics Olympian. Oh my God, Chad Vaughn, Olympic weightlifting Olympian, want to include me in this? Hell yeah. Where do I sign up? Like, I should be up at camp thanking you guys. In fact, I'm going to grab the mic out of your hand next time, and I'm going to thank you guys saying, oh my God, these guys, out of everybody here, picked me to come participate and be a part of this. It was such a great idea. I mean, obviously, you guys brought such a huge pedigree, accomplishment to the table with what you're doing. And I paid attention to whatever videos or things that you guys put out at the time, through social media, to see how you were approaching your craft, how you were approaching your teaching and your gymnastics, and also weightlifting. And obviously I paid a lot of attention to the gymnastics because that was the background I came from. And I'd seen other gymnastics, purveyors try and come around the fitness space and try and bring their expertise, and were giving dumb advice, and you were the first person that I noticed, Dave, actually giving smart advice, trying to, blend your background of high-level gymnastics into low-level fitness, right? And so I always appreciated that. And so, yeah, when you guys, brought the idea, it was absolutely a no-brainer. And honestly, I'll be 100% honest, I was excited and honored that you asked me, because I always joke at camp that I'm the least pedigreed person there. Like, every one of the trainers there has a national, if not international level pedigree of performance in their sport. And so I get to hang out with you guys, and so that was a no-brainer. So you cracked me up that you give me all this credit, when honestly I was super stoked and giddy like a kid to come hang out with you guys. And what you guys put together with that camp is like probably beyond the vision that we all had back then when you were thinking it through. And obviously it's evolved and it's gotten better and better and better. But when you really think about what you guys have created there, and what happens, it's magical. Like, it's literally magical,
Yeah, I completely agree in terms of us not knowing what it was going to turn into, and it kind of growing into more of an experience rather than just an educational week, and being something that can be life-changing for a lot of people. And I'm just incredibly proud about what it became. But I just can't thank you enough again, Dave, for believing in it and helping.
And I can't thank you enough.
All right, a lot of thanking going on here.
I'm going to match you every time you say that. I'm going to match you back.
I will say that for all of the thanking that's going on here, what we did was, you being part of our inaugural group, we gave you the worst gym setting out of all of the coaches. And I was always curious about how you feel. So at Power Monkey Camp, we have 3 gyms. We have an 18,000 square foot gym, we have another 10,000 square foot gym, and then we have about a 3,000 square foot space that's an open air gym down by the lake, off by itself, almost completely in the woods. And that's where we put Dave in the jump rope station. And he's never complained about it. And sometimes it's freezing cold. Sometimes it's completely foggy or raining and miserable out there. And Dave is always gung-ho about wanting to be at that station. Never giving me any shit about putting him down there. And I'm just curious about how that experience is, the fact that you are segmented and away from everybody else in that situation where we're all nice and cozy up in the gym.
That's so funny. Well, I'll tell you what, man. We love it down there. It's absolutely the best view, assuming you have good weather, which mostly we usually do. With good weather, that view of the lake is so beautiful and serene and relaxing, which, venturing back to the beginning of this whole podcast and our conversation, puts our participants in a nice relaxed state. They come in and they're just very chill, and that's what we want. So we love it down there. And I mean, obviously we miss the camaraderie of being in the gym, and probably a little bit of the hustle and bustle of groups rotating around, to the different stations. We probably miss out on a little bit of that, and definitely the camaraderie. But I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, being down there, it's really great for the way we teach, just because jump rope is so loud. Number one, right, with the rope making contact with the ground, it makes a lot of noise. And when we're trying to coach and project and maybe yell cues over all that noise while people are in movement, and we're trying to communicate with them, it would be tough up in your setting in the gym with then barbells clanging and people on the rings and pull-up bars and whatever else is going on. I think I'd probably lose my voice trying to coach our specialty up in the main gym. So honestly, it's a godsend. I think the only one time that I was probably furious was at the first or second camp.
Second camp. I actually had it brought up here, and I was curious if you were going to bring it up. It's part of my camp too. Yeah.
Should I leave that out?
No. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh my God! So the first couple camps we had Paleo Nick, who was catering all the meals, and he had this great idea of smoking a pig, right, for the big finale meal. And I don't know why I wasn't involved in this decision-making process, but I don't know why that the whole culinary crew decided, and maybe Mr. Craig, let's dig the pit to smoke the pig for 12 hours or however long that had to happen, right outside of our jump rope station, which, mind you, has no walls at all. We're literally outdoor with a roof. It's really more of a pavilion, and not really thinking of which way the winds were blowing or any of that, and trying to coach or just even be there with the smoke billowing into our workstation was ridiculous, man. I mean, we smelled disgusting. I mean, we literally smelled like we were standing in a bonfire pit. Our eyes were all watering and teary. It was horrendous. And I can look back and recount that experience with affection now, because now every camp that comes through, when I tell them that story, everything is better than that experience, right? It can't get worse than that particular experience. And so they should be super stoked to be where we are, to be down there and exercising and having fun and joking around.
I just remember going down to the lake and seeing the wind blowing perfectly in the direction of the tin can where you guys were at. It was almost like a wind tunnel right to you guys. It was oh my God. It was you couldn't even see any people in there. It was so smoky. It was unbelievable.
It was rough. But you know what? We toughed it out and we got it done. And just you guys have experienced, in a tough WOD. Once you get through a tough WOD, you pat yourself on the back and you feel a little bit more mentally tough from the experience. Oh, okay, I made it through that, man. I can handle anything you throw at me. And that experience kind of gave us those wings, I guess. We feel hey, we can handle anything. If it's a little chilly, we'll just throw on an extra layer.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes we've had hail, and we've had a little bit of hail, and on that tin roof, it can get loud, there. But it's still pretty cool. It's still a pretty cool
It's a great spot.
Experience.
It's a great spot.
Yeah. So thank you for the spot. Please keep us down there.
All right, that's yours.
Don't rotate us out. Yeah, no, we love it. We love it. It's the best. Yeah.
All right, Dave. Well, we're getting towards the end here. We just have a couple of questions left for you before we jump off. First one is it's going to be a little bit controversial in terms of how you answer it, right? So
oh my.
It's going to be a simple question, but we're going to keep a tally of this with all of our guests. And we just want to know which sport is better, gymnastics or weightlifting?
Wow. You're looking for a universal answer on that. Which sport is better, weightlifting or gymnastics? There's a lot of ramifications based on how I answer this.
Sure are.
Certainly.
Well, I guess the only way I could do this and keep it kind of fair to me is which sport jump ropes more, and that's the sport I'll pick. I'll pick the sport that jump ropes more because I think there's going to be more congruence.
Say it.
I guess it's gymnastics.
Yes!
All right.
Chad, you shot yourself in the foot saying that weightlifters only, wouldn't even pick up a jump rope.
Yeah, you did say that, Chad.
I used to jump rope every day as part of my training. I mean, that seemed like the obvious fit.
To be fair, for maybe the first 2 or 3 years, I would jump rope every day as part of my warm-up, but then it kind of fell to the side. So maybe that's my own fault for setting that up. And I do think that gymnastics is winning 2-0 now because Dave, on the last recording, it was your decision, I think, to pick either gymnastics or weightlifting, and I was hoping that you were convinced by now that weightlifting was better, but you are not.
No, I picked my own sport.
So that's a challenge. That's a challenge. But yeah, we have one more question for you before we finish out, and it's a game that we like. Another game that we like to play when we can. It's a random question game, and you have to answer it quickly. There's not a whole lot of thought to go into this, and so I need you to pick a number between 1 and 9.
7.
7. I've told you, Dave.
Yeah,
Everybody here. I mean, most people pick 7, and it is a good question. So, what are you not very good at all? So you can answer this as in life.
Weightlifting.
Weightlifting. There you go. Okay, well, we'll take that. So now my question, Dave, is you need to take some time off from the jump rope station and come see us at our weightlifting stations at Power Monkey Camp.
Yes, I do. Well, probably mobility station first, which is why I suck at weightlifting.
I wouldn't say it's relative, Dave. You're a pretty good mover in everything that you do, so it's all fairly relative.
Well, I wish I could overhead squat better. Those just feel so bad to me. Overhead squat and snatch, So you
and so many other athletes. That's why we like to get out there and do what we do and know that we can help people improve if they're willing to slow down and take some steps back, as we talked a lot about in the recording here.
Oh, I'm slow. Trust me, I'm very slow at that, and just getting an empty barbell overhead and doing overhead squats with it by itself is challenge enough for me. So no problem slowing down.
Well, Dave, before we finish up here, we want to give you a chance to let everybody know where they can find you and RX Smart Gear, and if you have anything coming up that you want to let our listeners know about, anything coming up that you're excited about?
Yeah, Power Monkey Camp 13.
Yep, that'll be the next one.
In April. Is that
May?
Right? April is the decide. Oh, it's May. Okay,
3rd through the 9th.
First week of May. There we go. Yeah, so I'm excited about that. That's going to be phenomenal. You can find us, obviously online, rxsmartgear.com. Instagram, rxsmartgear, at rxsmartgear. I have a couple of Instagram accounts because one's personal, that's just family and friends and, spending time with the kids and wife and stuff. But my kind of work Instagram is RxSG, that's RX Smart Gear, RxSG CEO. And I try and keep things more, I don't do a ton on there, and I'm not trying to get a ton of followers, but, if you want to find out some things going on maybe behind the scenes or with products we're developing, I'm more inclined to put something there and talk about it. But yeah, we're just, we got a couple new products we're trying to get out in the new year. We have the Evo is one of our popular speed ropes that a lot of competitors like to use, and so we're bringing out a new version of that. That's kind of the baby brother, baby sister version. Actually, I have one here. So it's just this little guy. We've already posted this. It's been so it's just a little lighter, a little smaller for people that prefer that feel, but it has all the same components and high performance. So we're pretty excited about that. We've been spending a lot of time getting that ready to go. And a couple other things that probably aren't worth mentioning just yet, but yeah, things that are definitely in the pipe. And just looking forward to the new year. I can't believe this year is almost over.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I know, it's nuts.
Well, Dave,
absolutely crazy.
Dave, it's been a pleasure chatting with you, and we'll surely get that check out to you for all the kind words that you said about us. So be on the lookout for that. But listeners out there, be sure to head over to powermonkeyfitness.com. To check out services and upcoming events that we have going on. Also, take a look at our Instagram pages for regular teaching and technical content. You can see that at Power Monkey Fitness, or Dave's personal account is Dave Durante. That's at DAVEDURANTE. Hopefully I spelled that correctly, Dave.
Yep.
And then for myself, Ollie Chad, that's at OLYCHAD. We'd also really love to hear from you guys. This is something new that we're working on and trying to get it going. You guys can always leave us a rating or a review wherever you get your podcast. You can also send us any questions or requests you might have for the show by sending an email to podcast@powermonkeyfitness.com. And guys, on behalf of Power Monkey Fitness, we're your host. I'm Chad Vaughn, here with Dave Durante. Until next time, thank you all for listening.